Alright, what is going on, Hustle Buddies? Today's video is going to be about specifically how to start an Amazon business with only $100. Alright, now we're doing this video for a couple reasons. First, it's how we ourselves started back about 3 years ago. We were broke public school teachers and we had to figure out something else. So I only had about $100 that I could spend on something. I couldn't go all into some strange side hustle idea that I came up with. So this is how we started. And then I also wanted to point out just sort of like the simple math behind it. When you start compounding your ROI, your return on your investments, you can get some pretty big numbers pretty quickly. And so I wanted to sort of break that down and then give you some practical ideas. Now I do want to preface this with starting with $100 is not the best way to do this, and the advice that I'm giving is specific for people starting with tiny budgets. I'm going to advise a lot of things for those with tiny budgets that I would advise differently to people who are starting with $400 or $1,000 or whatever else it may be. There's just different rules that apply when you're starting with minuscule amounts of money, okay? So I do want to sort of preface it with that. All right, so we're going to break this down into 5 steps. The first step for starting an Amazon business with $100 is to start the business. Yep, you guessed it. So basically, you'll have to go to sellercentral.amazon.com. You can sign up for a free individual account. That's the keyword that you're looking for. There are individual accounts and there are professional accounts. The professional account, obviously, that's what you will eventually be using. Once you sell more than 40 items is what I would recommend because it costs $40 a month. Now the free account is free, but they just charge you $1 per item that sells. So that's why it's going to be cheaper if you're selling more than 40 items to switch over. But when you are first starting, when you're just testing the waters, sign up for the free individual account. You'll have to scroll down to the very bottom of the sign up page. And there's a little button, the font is really small and it says, do you only have a few things to sell? Sign up for a free individual account or something along those lines. Okay, so that's what you're looking for. If you, for some reason, are unable to sign up for the free account and it sort of pushes you and forces you to sign up for the professional account, that's okay, it's very normal, Amazon does that. All you have to do once you get into the account is open up a case with support and just let them know that you would like to downgrade your account. That's very easy, it's very common, people do it all the time, okay? And you can upgrade at any time as well. So that is step 1, set up your account, okay? Step 2, this is pretty important, this is where some things differ from if you're starting with a larger budget, but you can only buy inventory, okay? You cannot buy any tools, you cannot buy any subscriptions, nothing. Because if you only have $100, I mean, even if you're getting something really cheap, like Scotty peelers, those are like little razor blades we use to get stickers off. They're incredibly useful, they're incredibly cheap, but I mean, it's like 10 bucks. If you had to spend $10 of your budget on Scotty peelers, all that's doing is speeding up taking stickers off of stuff. You can do that the slow way, you can do that the hard way, because that's 10% of your starting budget. That's a massive amount when you're just starting, okay? So spend your whole budget on inventory. Now a lot of people are like, well, I don't know what to buy. There's a lot of stuff out there that you can get for very cheap or close to free. Sometimes you actually can get stuff for free. And I'll sort of talk about some of those ideas. So I think used books from like Salvation Army, Goodwill, even garage sales, like used books from those places can be fantastic. You're not trying to sell anything new, so you don't have to worry about like inauthentic claims. You're selling things as used. As long as you are labeling them as such, you are in the clear. But go out there and look for those used books. Look for the reference books. Look for books about like weird hobbies. Textbooks obviously are huge. They're not going to sell super fast, but you can get things for a quarter or 50 cents and sell them for 20, 30 bucks, and you can make some profit with that. So used books are great. I think going to clearance sections of like Walmart and local grocery stores, I think that's another great way to do it. I think clothing is good, but not for beginners because you'll have to do some other prep work. And since we're not buying any poly bags, we're not buying labels, none of that stuff, I would actually avoid clothing if you are only starting with $100. Once you build that up, then absolutely clothing is fantastic for beginners, but not for $100 because you don't have any tools, okay? So you really have to only spend your money on inventory. Don't look at any tools or any systems or anything like that that we recommend because that's not going to be for $100, okay? So that is step 2. Step 3 is you should get creative in how you're sourcing things, okay? So what I mean by that, when we were first starting, so I started with $100, but we were teachers and we had graduated from college a couple years back, and we had a lot of books and all sorts of things on our shelves that they were used, but they were still in fine condition, and so we could list them on Amazon as used. We had textbooks that we still were left over from college, and we could list those as used as well. So you can get creative, sell the stuff that you're not using anymore. Make sure you're selling it as used so you don't get into any sticky situations, but all of that is completely acceptable. We know a lot of like extreme couponers, and that's a fantastic way to get inventory for close to free, or sometimes even you are actually getting the stuff for completely free. As long as you are ungated and unrestricted in selling something, then absolutely go for it. It's just, you sort of have to get creative and do what other people are not doing. I think that's really important. We had a call with one of our mentees a while back, and we were trying to figure out how he could get more inventory because he had spent his entire budget. And he had a little bit larger of a budget, but he had spent it all, and he didn't just want to sit there twiddling his thumbs. And so we got creative, and he ended up making a Craigslist and Facebook ad for free book haulaways. And so he just made a post that said, hey, I'll come to your house and I've got a truck. I will load up all of your old books for free and haul them away. Just let me know where you're at and I'll take your old junky books. And people were calling him all the time. Maybe like their grandparents had passed away or they were moving or something like that. And they just wanted to get rid of all their books. They didn't really care. They just wanted them to go somewhere. And yeah, 99% of them were junk books that, just had to be donated or thrown away or whatever. But that 1% was completely free. So when you're starting with a small budget, you sort of have to spend the extra amount of time in order to get that inventory. This is the sort of business where you either have to spend your money or you have to spend your time. If you don't have either one of those, then I would turn off this video now. Before you turn it off, if you could thumbs up it and subscribe, that'd be great. But turn off the video now because this won't really work for you. You have to have one or the other. You have to be willing to either put in the time or you have to have a large starting capital. This isn't something that's going to get you rich really quickly, okay? I think it's simple work, but it is hard work, if that makes sense, all right? So that was step 3, is get creative. Step 4, this is super important. I usually tell people this is what I attribute our success to early on, was that we reinvested 100% of everything that we made, okay? If we made a big sale, like that first big sale when we sold some stuff, I remember our first sale was a light bulb. Immediately I was like, oh, let's go out to dinner or something like that. But then I was like, oh, if I spend that $20 that I just made on dinner, then I can't reinvest that $20. And if I just keep reinvesting that $20, it's going to compound. And I started doing some math, and it was just mind-boggling what that $20 could turn into a year down the road if my calculations were adding up, all right? So you have to reinvest 100%. Now, we did some math on this, and if you take your initial investment of, say, $100, okay, and you are able to sell in that very first month, you're able to double that, so you sell a total of $200. If you can just double your total gross sales every single month for the first 3 months, okay, that's very plausible, all right? So you turn 100 into 200, then 2 into 4, and then 4 into 8, and so on and so on. Okay, just do it for the first 3 months. Make that like your goal. I'm gonna double this. I'm gonna work my butt off. I'm gonna find free or cheap inventory, and I'm gonna make this work. Okay, double it every month for the first 3 months. Then for the next 3 months, keep pushing hard, but maybe you've hit some other bottlenecks and some other roadblocks. And so now instead of trying to double it, just try and grow by 75%. All right. So take your initial investment, take $100, multiply it by 2. 3 times for your first 3 months. Then take that number, multiply it by 1.75, so you're growing by 75% for 3 months again, all right? So we press enter 3 times, boom, 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 got 3 more of those. Now for the next 6 months, let's keep pushing ourselves, but let's be realistic. Let's shoot for 50% growth month over month, which again, it's difficult, but it's doable. It's not some impossible, lofty goal that's ridiculous and no one can get it. These are very obtainable numbers. when you're starting with small amounts of capital. Now, if you're starting with $1 million, none of this makes any sense to you. So the numbers don't work the same with $1 million as they do 100. But doubling $100 is very easy in a month on Amazon. All right. So keep doing that. After you do all of that, then add together what you actually made for all of those months. All right. Now we put a little spreadsheet together and we sort of showed that. But if you do that correctly, starting with $100, you can end the year with $143,000 in total sales. Okay. Now, it's not net profit and it's not anything like that. But again, you're not paying yourself. You're not taking money out. You are just trying to grow this, and you're trying to grow it with $100. So if you're complaining about net profit and things like that when you're only starting with $100, that's a little bit too cynical of a mindset to go in thinking about this. I think it's good to be realistic, but there's a difference between being realistic and being a cynic. And you sort of have to realize the potential of this to go for it. If you can't realize the potential, then again, you're going to burn out really, really quickly because you're not going to see that return right away. All right. So that is step 4, reinvesting 100%, letting your returns just keep compounding month over month over month, and it'll get really huge. For us, that pretty closely aligns to what happened with us our first year. So I started with $100 plus the stuff around my house. All right. So we did the math there, and if you did all of that correctly, it should have come out to about $143,000. We ended our first year at about $180,000. Okay, so if you take $100 and then you add in some more from the books and stuff that was around our house, it makes sense to hit those goals, and that's roughly what we did in our first year. All right. So the 5th point that I want to go over really briefly is just to reevaluate your business every single month. I think that's super important. Go back through, look at your finances, look at what's selling, look at what's not selling, figure out what's working and what's not working, and how you can adjust going into the next month. I think this was really, really crucial for our growth early on. Let's say we were doing a lot of books and they were doing really well. Well, every month I would reevaluate, and if it started to decline, or if I started to realize, oh, you know what, I'm actually making a lot more money for my time going to Walmart and buying ramen noodles or whatever it is. Then I could adjust for the following month. And it's important in business, in any business it's important, but especially when you're trying to do almost the impossible. I mean, when you're trying to build this with such a small amount of money, every tiny bit matters. And so you really have to like hyper analyze everything and really plan everything out. But yeah, so that's the 5th, is just reevaluate. Hopefully those 5 points sort of gave you some ideas of just how powerful of a business model this is. Again, you're not going to get rich quickly. It's not going to be easy, but it is fairly simple. I think anyone can do this. Not everyone should do it, but anyone could do this, starting with $100. I'm a pretty firm believer of that. So yeah, if you haven't yet, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We've got lots of other videos that talk about things like this. Also, we have a Facebook group. It's called facebook.com/groups/hustlebuddies. It's a fantastic community of sellers. We have just about 10,000 sellers. They all get together and they share their experiences, what's working for them, what's not working for them. It's a great place to ask questions and just build those connections and network with people that are at a similar point as you are. All right. I hope that helps, guys. We'll see you there. Hustle on.